In our today's class, we discuss about urban settlements, lesson 1.6, discussing urban land use. The growth of cities produced a form of city that was easily recognizable by its urban land use. It included a commercial area, a surrounding industrial zone with densely packed housing, and outer zone of suburb expansion and development. Geographers have spent a lot of time modeling these cities. Every model is a simplification. No city will fit these models perfectly, but there are parts of every model that can be applied to most cities in the developed world. All models are useful because they focus our attention on one or two key factors. Identifying land value. The value of land varies with different land uses. For example, it varies for retail, office, and residential land use. Figure 1.73a. Retail land uses are attracted to more expensive central areas. Land at the center of a city is the most expensive for two main reasons. It is the most accessible land to public transport. There is only a small amount available, and land prices generally decrease away from the center area. There are secondary peaks at the intersection of main roads and ring roads. Figure 1.73a. Change in levels of accessibility due to private or public transport as opposed. Here you can see figure 1.3a. Here you can see the graph which offer price and distance from retail to residential, retail, office and residential, and you can see the intersection between these areas. O means city center, A means changeover from retail to office, B means changeover from office to residential. Offer prices of retail, office and residential uses with distance from the city center. 1. Section across the urban value surface. 2. Plan of the urban value surface. Discussing Barge's concentric model in 1925. This is the basic model, figure 1.73b. Barges assume that new migrant to a city moved into inner city areas where housing was cheap and it was closest to the source of employment. Over time, residents move out of the inner city areas as they become wealthier. In this model, housing quality and social class increase with the distance from city center. Land in the center is dominated by commerce, as this sector is best able to afford the high land prices and require highly accessible sites. Beyond the center is a manufacturing zone that also includes high density, low quality housing to accommodate the workers. As the city grows, the CBD, Central Business District, expand. The concentric ring of land use are pushed further out. Figure 1.73b. Concentric Zone Model, Barges, 1925. Model based on Chicago in the 1920s. The city is growing, especially due to immigration and natural increase. The area around the CBD has the lowest status and highest density housing. Residents moved outward with increasing social class, and their homes are taken by new migrants. What is zone transition? The area of immediate change next to the expanding CBD is known as the zone in transition, usually from residential to commercial. Hoyt's sector model, 1939. Homer Hoyt's sector model emphasized the importance of transport routes and the incompatibility of certain land uses in picture 1.73c. Sectors developing along important routeways while Certain land uses, such as high-class residential and manufacturing industry, deter each other and are separated by buffer zones or physical features. Here you can see the picture number 1.73C sector model, Hoyt, 1939. Discussing urban land use in developing countries. There are a number of models of cities in developing countries. One of the most common is the model of a Latin America city in picture number 1.73D. The CBD has developed around the colonial core and there is a commercial avenue extending from it. This has become the spine of a sector containing open areas and parks and homes for the upper class and middle income classes. These areas have good quality street, schools and public services. Further out, the more recent suburbs with more haphazard housing and fewer services. Here you can see the picture of Latin America city structure. The first one is zone of peripheral squatter settlements. Then the number 2 is zone of active improvement of housing, means how they divide the zones and then how they improve the zone. Then they have the zone of better residence, upgraded and self-builded. And then in the red one they have upper class zone. Discussing land use zoning in developing countries. A number of models describe and explain the development of cities in developing countries. These include several key points. The rich generally live close to the city center, whereas the very poor are more likely to be found on the periphery. Number 2. Better quality land is occupied by wealthier. Number 3. Segregation by wealth, race and ethnicity is evident. Number 4. Manufacturing is scattered throughout the city. Identifying internal structure of towns and cities. The Central Business District (CBD) is the commercial and economic core of the city. Picture number 1.75. The area that is more accessible to public transport and the location with the highest land value. It has a number of characteristic features. Concentration of public transport. There is a convergence of bus routes on the CBD. Concentration of offices. Centrality favors office developments. Vertical zoning. Shops occupy the lower floors for better accessibility, while offices occupy upper floors. Functional grouping. Similar shops and similar functions tend to locate together, increasing their thresholds. Low residential population. High bid rents can only be met by luxury apartments. Highest pedestrian flows due to the attraction of a variety of commercial outlets and service facilities. Traffic restrictions are greatest in the CBD. Pedestrianization has reduced access for cars since 1960s. The CBD changes over time. There is an assimilation zone, the direction in which the CBD is expanding, and there is discard zone, the direction from which it is moving away. There are, however, many problems in the CBD, such as a lack of space, the high cost of land, congestion, pollution, a lack of sites, planning restrictions, and strict government controls. Residential zones. In most developed countries, as a general rule, residential densities decrease with distance from CBD. This is due to a number of reasons. Historically, more central areas develop first and support high population densities. Large number of workers were densely packed into inner areas to be close to manufacturing jobs. There is greater availability of land with increased distance from the CBD. Improvement in transport and technology allow people to live further away from their place of work in lower density areas. Wealthy households may be able to afford to live in more attractive areas such as close to rivers, high ground and open spaces or even parks. Some communities might desire to live away from other communities. This may be based on levels of wealth, ethnicity or government policy. Some communities may have to locate in areas where building may be difficult. However, this pattern can be disrupted by low densities in the CBD as residential land use cannot compete with commercial land use to meet the high bid rent. The location of high-rise peripheral estates increasing density at the margin of the urban area. Green belt restriction which artificially raise population density in the suburbs. Population densities tend to change over time with peak densities decreasing and average densities increasing. Core and frame elements of CBD. Number 1. Concentration of banks and businesses. Number 2. Absence of manufacturing industries. Number 3. Concentration of department stores, comparison goods stores, chain stores, specialist retail outlets. Number 4. Area of highest shopping quality. Number 5. Functional zoning. Similar activities concentrate and cluster, example banks and shoe shops. Number 6. Low residential population. Number 7. High density of pedestrians. Zone of maximum accessibility, often pedestrianized areas at shopping malls. Number 8. Some vertical zoning with use of first and second floor. Number 9. Multi-story development, high buildings. Let's talk about the cores. Number 1. Transport terminals. Number 2. Office areas, example solicitor. Number 3. Shops requiring large area of land. Number 4. Some derelict land. Number 5. Limited light manufacturing. Number 6. Wholesaler warehouses. Number 7. Car sales and services. Number 8. Small shops, low grade shops. Number 9. Specialist services, example medical. Number 10. Multi-let residence, often old houses. Factors influencing CBD decline. Investors and businesses are attracted by peripheral sites that have good access and environment and often lower cost. Cost of development and upkeep of CBD are high. Business rate, rent and land cost. Investment in city centers often lack of coordinated plan. Congestion reduce accessibility of CBDs. Rise in car ownership leads to increased personal mobility and rise the larger shopping. Progressive suburbanization leads to urban sprawl. The city center may be many miles away. Planning policies can encourage urban expansion and provide out-of-town developments. City councils determine to attract new industry inward investment offer greenfield sites for development. Companies find peripheral location cheaper and nearer customer and staff who live in the leafy suburbs. City centers are perceived as dirty, unsafe with an aging environment and poor infrastructure.